Welcome to a special bonus episode of Cinemaholics. I'm John Negroni. He is Will Ashton. Hey, Will.
Hey.
I'm sorry I'm not happier, Will. I'm a little bit heart sick.
Why is that?
Well, you know, Valentine's Day just passed, and yeah, it was romantic and everything.
Sure.
But I'm just sad because I love this season of movies where we get to watch romantic comedies, and it's over. It's already done.
I was worried something in your personal life has happened. I was
no
afraid.
Personal life, no complaints. Everything's great and perfect.
That's great. Okay, that's good.
Well, there's one problem with my personal life.
What's that?
No more romantic comedies. They're all over. The next few movies we're talking about are just like super fun blockbusters and Channing Tatum's first directorial debut, which we'll probably have fun making fun of. But
are you seeing that?
Nothing romantic. What?
Are you going to see Dog?
I think so. I think I have to.
Right.
I don't think I'm going to watch that Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing.
Oh, we got to watch that. I heard it is terrible. I'm very excited to watch that.
Yeah, we're assuming there's a cryptic tweet from a friend of the show, Val Complex, and the leading theory between you and me, I think, is that she's talking about that movie, the sequel to the last one.
The word on the street is that movie had terrible test screenings and a very tumultuous production process. So, I mean, you know, the safe money is that she is talking cryptically about Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
We'll find out because we didn't ask her. Well, hey, wait. Okay. There's another Netflix thing now.
Okay.
Kanye West. Are we going to talk about Genius?
Probably, but there are 2 other installments that come out. We got to
watch that. Well, are you going to watch it though? Like if I watch it, should I be gearing up? Like it's going to hit the Cinemaholics feed?
I mean, you could do whatever you want, John. It's your life, but I'm watching the next 2 installments.
Nothing's going to stop you. You're making it sound like I'm going to stop you. It's like,
I mean,
no, Will, we're going to cancel Kanye West because that's worked before.
Sure. But
he's uncancelable. That's for sure.
I don't know where we're on this trend when we were supposed to be talking about the film Marry Me, which stars...
I'm heartsick. I'm changing the subject because I don't want my heart to get broken again.
Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson.
We're talking about Marry Me and I Want You Back.
Okay, yeah. We're talking about that one as well.
Very suggestive titles for these 2 movies. Okay, we're starting with Marry Me. If you had told me, like, we're looking at like a feature film slate, and you're like, okay, one of these movies is based on a graphic novel. I'm pretty sure the exact last one I would put on my like list of likelihood would be Marry Me. But there is a graphic novel called Marry Me by Bobby Crosby. I gotta look this up because I just want to see what the cover looks like. I'm assuming you read it.
No, I have not. I was just going to joke that we are talking yet again about another comic book movie and then mention it's going to be Marry Me. Yeah. But
did I ruin your joke?
Yeah, that's okay.
This looks absolutely different. This is so not... It looks fun. I'm not going to lie to you. It looks like
Well, that would be different.
A teen kind of YA sort of graphic novel. And it's like super... Like she's a superstar, but she looks like it's like the year 2050 or something.
Oh.
I want to read this.
Well... That would make more sense. The characters were in their 20s for what the plot is. But,
yeah.
I mean,
that's true.
You know, it's...
Well, I was confused when I was watching this movie. Somebody had to correct me because I thought that the movie was saying that Jennifer Lopez is supposed to be 35 because there's a comment in the movie where somebody's like, north of 35 is what you are. And apparently somebody was like, no. Just that she's older than 35. That doesn't mean that she's like around 35. Which I was just like, this movie wants me to believe she's in her mid-30s? Okay.
I mean, grammatically, I guess that's correct, but I think they are kind of fudging the details there. But, I mean, Jennifer Lopez, I think it's been said before, it looks amazing at 50. So, you know.
Absolutely.
Age is a number when it comes to Jennifer Lopez.
I'm not ageist. I'm cool with her and Owen Wilson having their, you know, vicarious, you know, romantic comedy. She's 52.
I mean, 52. Well, I mean, you know, only the better, I guess. You know, she looks great.
Good for her. You know,
I love
Owen
the idea
Wilson,
that
not so much. Can I say that?
You don't think Owen Wilson doesn't look
He's
very
53, good? Which, you know, I like that too. I like that they're actually around the same age. It's like usually when you get past like a certain age for these romantic things, like the couples are like totally different in terms of that sort of thing, especially if it's like Tom Cruise or something.
I mean, there is quite of an age difference between Jennifer Lopez and the other love interest in this film.
Yeah, Maluma.
Yeah.
Which, hey, no disrespect on that too. I thought that was, you know, get it, girl. I mean, what up?
I guess it's technically more progressive that it's an older woman and a younger man than a younger woman and an older man. But I mean, you know, in any case,
that's what I'm saying. He's only 28. He's worked
he's my
with
age.
He's worked
age.
with my cousin Ricky Martin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's worked with Ricky. And,
I'm so excited to talk about Ricky Martin when you come on A Ogre Toots Ogre and talk about Shrek 2.
Oh yeah, is that what's gonna happen? I've never, even though we're related, I've never met him.
Really? I didn't know if you did or not. That was one of my questions. I have a bunch of them for that episode, but that's coming at a later day.
Maybe someday I'll meet him. I don't know. But okay. So Marry Me is about a superstar named, what's her name? Kat Valdez? Yeah. She's like a Latina pop star, right? She's essentially just like Jennifer Lopez. She's supposed to be, it's like a heightened version of J-Lo where she's even more famous than she is right now. Like she's pretty famous, but this movie's saying like, what if she was Beyonce famous?
Yeah, I kind of felt like Britney Spears circa like 2005 level famous. Like
I wouldn't say Britney Spears. I'd say Beyonce.
That's fair. Yeah, right? Beyonce. Yeah, I don't know. I just like they kept talking about all her marriages and all that stuff, and I feel like that wasn't really an issue with Beyonce.
Okay, yeah, there's a little bit of that, I guess, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like the age too, and the fact that like marrying another pop star, like with Jay-Z,
sure.
and
I think it's what you mean. Yeah.
I mean, it's an amalgamation. There are plenty of other artists you could throw in there as like.
I mean,
okay, they're
Are you saying Kevin Fairline wasn't a major pop sensation in his own right?
Okay, so this was directed by Kat Quaro. Who is working on, I think, She-Hulk, excuse me. And this is her big thing, her big like movie. I don't know if she's done any other movies. She's like a TV director.
Life Happens with Kristen Ritter, if I recall correctly.
I didn't see that movie. I like Kristen Ritter, though.
They wrote it together and she starred in it. And
that must have been, was that a while ago though?
That was like 10 years ago. Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm bringing up her filmography right now, and she did a movie with Kate Bosworth. There we go. 2012. And then, and then she did a movie called A Case of You in 2013. So this is her first movie in almost a decade, because that was 2013.
As she's been doing a lot of TV since then.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a lot of shows that I have not seen. I mean, there's some like Shameless, Modern Family, stuff like that. Okay, we know what that. Dead to
famous.
Me.
Yeah, those are famous shows. I haven't watched
Brooklyn
them.
Nine-Nine. She's just done so many. I'm seeing some that I don't recognize as much. Kids Are All Right. Not the movie, but Single Parents. I don't know what that is. Girls Five Ever. I've heard of Girls Five Ever. Never seen it.
Oh, that's
that Peacock show.
I was gonna say that's another Peacock show, which is how I watched the film. I watched the film on Peacock.
Yeah, this is on Peacock.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was going to be on Peacock. And I had some friends, I had some family who were just like, yeah, I want to watch Marry Me. And they were like, and I had the screener, right? And I was like, oh, maybe you can watch it with me with the screener. But then literally like that day, I was like, wait, it's going to be on Peacock. So you can just, if you wanted to wait, you could just do that.
I don't know if
that's pretty easy.
I don't know if you're allowed to share screeners, John. I think you're just getting yourself in trouble on the air.
I can watch it myself, right? And if they happen to be there too, there's nothing wrong with that. There are no rules that say you can't have other people watch it with you. It's like having a guest at the screening.
Or
trying to get me in trouble.
Some dance moves at a math competition. That's related to this ding dang movie we're talking about. I keep trying to bring this conversation back to Marry Me, and you keep changing it to
I think
all
it
these
has
other topics.
I think we've been on Marry Me the entire time. But okay, so this movie also stars Owen Wilson as as you kind of alluded there. He's a math teacher, divorced. He has a precocious young daughter played by Chloe Coleman. We've seen her in some other stuff like that. My Spy, right? With what's his face, Dave Bautista. Yeah. She's been in some other stuff too.
I once feared that would be the last movie I saw in theaters. How about that? I would never forget
I
that.
think I just watched it at home like most people. But so the setup for this movie is that as a pop star, Jennifer Lopez's character, Kat Valdez, has a big concert coming up where she is actually going to get married to the other her Jay-Z, right? Played by Maluma. His name is, I think, Bastion. And the two of them are like a power couple. They made this song together called Marry Me, Say Yes. I'm not going to sing it because, the listeners have suffered enough. And they are going to get married on stage and everything. But then something happens where all that falls apart and she's like, well, I'm not going to marry this guy. and she's feeling heartbroken. She's having a bit of an episode. She looks out into the crowd. Owen Wilson is there, and he's holding up a sign that says, "Marry me," that Sarah Silverman, his friend that he works with from the school, had handed to him, and he just happens to be holding it. He doesn't even know who Kat Valdez is, really. He's just like, oh yeah, whatever, like super schlubby. And then he's just holding a sign that says, "Marry me," and she's like, "I'll marry you." And then he sort of just goes with it. And that's kind of where this movie starts, where she kind of marries him kind of as a joke, I guess, or kind of as like making a statement or something, or just doing something kind of wild and out there.
Why not?
And from there, it becomes like a PR stunt that he gets roped into, and the two of them have to kind of navigate that.
I mean,
that's
look,
Marry Me.
I've heard some people say that, oh, this premise is preposterous. You know, how am I supposed to believe this premise? And I feel like this premise is no more ridiculous than any comic book movie that's come out in the past 5 years. So, you know,
and look,
and it's a comic book movie itself.
Real life is weird. You know, like, can't we accept that sometimes weird stuff does happen in real life? Sometimes people throw audibles, you know, in order to be like, that actually clicked with me. The idea of like trying to become famous or trying to like do something to get attention, trying to, you know, like, I could see this happening. It's super ridiculous, but like, come on, we don't have to split hairs.
Why not?
Yeah. This movie's doing pretty well. People really like it. A lot of people are watching it on Peacock. Box office wise, it's doing pretty well too. It's made 20 million so far in a week, and it's more than that, you know, a low budget film. Yeah, I mean, the fact that it's also on Peacock. I mean, people will do anything not to download Peacock. That's for sure.
Yes, that's been a big takeaway, because didn't Halloween Kills also do well even when that was on Peacock?
Yeah, it did. But you know, the funny thing is, Peacock has some good stuff on it. Now, the best thing that I've watched on Peacock. Not Bel Air. Bel Air is pretty addicting as a show. I've enjoyed the first 3 episodes, but Saved by the Bell, like, legitimately great show on Peacock. That would be the reason I would tell people to get Peacock, is for Saved by the Bell, not for anything else, honestly.
You are honestly the only person I know who watches this show, this new Saved by the Bell. And
that's wild to me, because as the listeners know, we have totally different Twitter timelines, and there's a Saved by the Bell hive that I'm a proud member of on my Twitter.
Not disputing the show. I don't know a single other person who has watched this show besides you, but I know you're very fond of it.
Whereas I have like a legion of friends, and we're sharing screenshots when the second season dropped. We're hitting each other's DMs, being like, "I can't believe that joke was made. How bold and progressive!" It's great stuff. But anyway, so the movie also stars John Bradley, who we just saw in Moonfall. Remember that movie when the moon fell?
Yeah, I mean, when we saw that film, I was like, okay, he's kind of playing against type by being a comedic supporting character, verging on comedic main character in that film. And I was like, it's, you know, kind of a nice change of pace for him. And now he's playing another supporting comedic character. And I have to be like, is this just like a career reinvention for this dude? Like, is he just trying?
He's going for it. I'm gonna make a reference here that I don't think you're gonna really fully appreciate, because you don't watch this show. This is like a Ted Lasso like tone,
I guess.
I've seen, because there's barely any conflict. Barely. Like, even the villain in this movie, Bastion, he's not even that bad. It's like Ted Lasso, where like even the worst people are just sort of like a nuisance, I guess, like barely, but everybody's just kind of like nice and understanding, and they talk about their problems, and they stuff in this. I will give Marry Me this, like it does the predictable stuff you expect, but it does it earlier than you expect, and then it just kind of like spins out into doing, you know, a couple of different other plot turns, and I kind of like this movie.
Yeah, I guess that might explain why I'm kind of lukewarm on it, because I just didn't really connect to this film at all. But on paper, I respect that it exists. As we mentioned, I admire the fact that there is another star vehicle romantic comedy starring 2 actors who, as we mentioned, are in their early 50s, and they don't even make a big point about that. It's not like they're like supposed to be over the hill or anything, and they're just in a mature, albeit unusual relationship together, and they just learn to enjoy each other's company. And I also appreciate that this movie, similar to I Want You Back, is kind of trying to spin the wheel on the romantic comedy formula, and that like it's doing like an opposite, where what would be traditionally the climax of the romantic comedy, like this big grand wedding, is actually the inciting incident, and then we watch the characters fall in love with each other. That's kind of a clever idea for romantic comedy, but otherwise it's just kind of sticking to the formula outside of, like you said, having some like major conflict or major adversity that's pushing it back. But even when there is that type of character, he's sort of just passive about it in a way that's meant to be like, yeah, it's not a big deal. It's, you know, like I'm kind of bummed I didn't get married to this woman, but I'm a super successful pop star in my
he's
own
like,
right.
I'm good. Yeah, it's fine.
So
I mean,
I guess that's kind of chill.
we'll see what happens.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can see why people are finding this very pleasant or very enjoyable because it's
laid back. It's chill.
Yeah, you know, it's relying on the star powers of two actors that people I think generally like, and I don't dislike them. I think they're fine. I think they're actually pretty charming together. They're reuniting together. I think they previously starred in Anaconda, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So it's a reunion of
1997
sorts
or whatever it was.
Yeah. So it's a reunion of sorts, and that's, you know, kind of nice in its own right. But I feel like
J-Lo, she's the queen of like the rom-coms, okay? Like Wedding Planner, Made in Manhattan. It's nice to see her kind of back in that zone.
Yeah, I haven't seen either of those films, to be honest, but
you should. They're good. I mean, they're not really your thing, I guess, but you know.
Peacock almost put on Wedding Planner for me after this film, and I was like, no, I have to record this podcast with John Negroni.
That's why. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think this is the sort of thing where I'm glad it exists. I would take another movie like this. I just kind of wish it was something more, but I also recognize that I'm not really the target audience for it at the same time.
That's right. You're not the target audience. I mean, I'm not really the target audience either. I know I kind of joked earlier that like I love rom-coms. I get into them, but this kind of rom-com is not my favorite. This kind of rom-com, though, I can still have some fun with. Right.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, I love romantic comedies. I love like screwball comedies in particular, but I feel like this is the type of one where it's just like you mentioned, it's not really like there's a lot driving the plot, and it feels generally kind of flat.
Very little conflict. Yeah, you're just kind of watching stuff happen, and that's the thing. Is like I would take that over contrived conflict, right? Like if you're not going to break the formula, that's fine. Like if you're just going to kind of give this like audience exactly what they want, then sure. I think this movie is certainly functional in that way, because it's just going to be charming with the performances, with the hijinks and everything like that. They don't have to like be extra just to try to like prove itself or anything. That's what I liked about it. It wasn't trying to prove itself. There is only one flaw with this movie that is kind of unforgivable. This movie, no, it's not too long. I mean, it's a little long, but
is that if it's going to be a conflict adverse rom-com, why not just make it 95 minutes long? Why does it have to be 2 hours?
It does overstay its welcome a little bit, but it's not quite 2 hours though, so that, you know, I wasn't hurting. But no, here's the actual issue with this movie that I have. This movie forced me to believe that even in the cinematic alternate multiverse, there is a cinematic universe where Jimmy Fallon is the only late night show host. And I will never forgive this movie for putting my head in that kind of, you know, state and having to now I have to just know that. So
fair. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that's because this is a Universal film and it's, you know, NBC and all that. Normally I don't
say
normally
I don't, kind of funny otherwise.
Normally I don't read my Letterboxd write-ups on the air, but that does relate to this one. So I wrote, having Jimmy Fallon make glib, incessant jokes about your life is a portal of hell that no person wishes to endure. And this brave new Universal horror movie is brave. This bold new Universal horror movie is brave enough to depict it. So that's
honestly though, it's great for these characters just because, like, okay, if the worst you have to contend with is Jimmy Fallon's team of joke writers, you should be good. You don't even need like a PR team at that point.
His jokes are pretty softball, to be fair, but I mean...
Yeah, I know. He's barely just like, oh, yeah, no, I'm going to marry the whoever. And I'm just like, all right, dude.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. Like, he's just not good at it. He's just not good at being mean or nice or anything, really. Okay. Jimmy Fallon character assassination aside.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like we don't really disagree on like the merits of this movie or anything. We just had like a different sort of like acceptance of it. Is that fair to say?
It's the type of thing where I don't think it's a very good film, but I'm not mad at anyone for enjoying it. Like it's fairly harmless in what it is and what it's trying to do.
That's so cute.
I would rather see more movies like this, the return of movies like this, as opposed to, you know, this onslaught of $150+ million blockbusters where they feel so listless and they have no creative energy or drive to them. And I feel like if we can get more movies like this as opposed to those, I'd be fine with more Marry Me's. But I don't, at the same time, think that this movie really is any good at all. And I didn't have fun watching it, so I can't recommend it.
Can't recommend it. That's sad. I mean, look, we could easily break this thing apart, right? There's so many things in here that I'm just, especially like now that the film's kind of coming back to me. Sure. For example, okay, Sarah Silverman, not funny in this at all. I don't think there was a single joke from her, and she's a funny person. So I was kind of, every time she was doing something, I was very uninterested in her.
She's very much playing a part, which is the funny best friend, the funny gay best friend character. You know, we can't ever escape that archetype in romantic comedies. She is just there to fill that part. But yeah, I found her part.
Actually, no, there was one moment she does kind of have where she's when she first meets Kat Valdez. That I actually did find that kind of amusing. Not chuckle worthy, but close. Like there was a little bit of something there, at least.
The only thing that I chuckled at with her was that there's a moment where she's protecting Owen Wilson from some salacious news, and she has a point of contact with the other gay best friend character, and that was kind of chuckle worthy for me. But otherwise, that nothing with her character really did much of anything for me at all.
There were definitely moments in this movie where I don't know. I know I said earlier that I think that it's unfair to criticize this movie's plausibility, but there were some things where I was kind of like, once things kind of changed, like it was missing some things, as long as it is of like, at one point they transition from, you know, one stage of their friendship to another, and there was no sort of reckoning around it really. Like everybody just sort of like knows, like they never have any sort of like, whoa, like this is changed or anything. Like there wasn't a very graceful transition there, which I thought was weird. And
no, I agree.
And then of course I think that, like, as I said before, there's not a lot of conflict, so they really had to contrive the stuff that happens in the third act. Like it was hard to believe, you know, that these characters were going to do that. I don't know though, because like the groundwork was kind of there. Like one of the things about this movie, if we really can add some, you know, analysis to it, is that it's essentially saying it's like two people who are super, super different. And, you know, at one point is it balance, and it's like a complementing thing because he's social media averse. She's extremely not social media averse. And they're kind of like challenging each other to sort of like complete each other, or to sort of like be more like them. And I don't know, there was something about that in this movie where I thought it was a little bit too easy. Like characters like this, do they really connect that like I just feel like they're so different. Well, it's like, I don't know, like they could have done more to like show their similarities, at least stuff they had in common.
I mean, for me, I think one of the biggest issues I had with the film was that Owen Wilson's character, I think, is just ultimately too passive for the film's own good. Like he just really takes no conflict with anything at all, ever, outside of people not caring about Math Club. That's literally the only thing he ever takes issue with in this whole movie.
That's why the Bastion character is not even a villain, because he knows he doesn't have to do it. He's like, oh, this guy's so passive.
Right. He just said, I guess I'm getting married on television. That's kind of odd. I wasn't expecting this when I went to a concert with my daughter.
I'm sorry, Will, your Owen Wilson impression, it's
not good. I thought it was
okay. Sounds like, I don't know, you're making it sound like he's like an incel. Like, I don't know.
Incel? I mean, I thought he's just a regular guy. He's just talking.
He's got a little bit more of like a country, you know, he's got a little,
he's got a little exasperated, you know. He's got a little Texas in him, but that's okay. You know, he's just having fun. He's just in a movie. It's a big deal.
I think we both need a little bit more practice.
I'm fine with working on my own Wilson impression on this podcast.
Yeah, I don't know. I think in terms of like the relationship dynamics, not that impressive. But I mean, you know, they don't have to be for this kind of movie. People aren't going into this for relationship advice, that's for sure.
Sure. I mean, I'd be a little alarmed if anyone went into this for relationship advice, but Owen Wilson does have a fairly amusing anecdote about the origins of marriage, which is not what I expected, and that kind of took me aback during a press conference scene.
That was a take. Well, I mean, women used to be like sold. He's like saying
also,
this. Like,
it also was a weird thing because it's like Owen Wilson's character is fairly like laissez-faire about most things, and then he had like a weirdly very cynical take on marriage out of nowhere on live television. It's just like, oh, I'm sorry, did I get too real with you guys on television? I'm sorry.
Yeah. But that's Marry Me. I think it's a pretty straightforward movie. What you see, what you get, you know what the deal is. You've probably already seen it. Our take isn't that interesting, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm just happy people are getting something out of it, and it does kind of feel like a relic of 2019 as far as like being one of the last late 2019 movies that was filmed before the pandemic, and it just feels very much like that energy of 2019 radiated throughout the film, and I think people are gravitating towards that as well. But maybe that's me reading into it too much. I don't know.
Yeah, it is weird that they waited so long too, because I don't know. This to me feels destined for streaming.
I don't know. Did they have to do some reshoots? I didn't quite know what the production process was like.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, I think they wrapped up shooting, like you said, 2019, and yeah, as far as I understand, they didn't have to reshoot anything. But
sure,
who knows? There could be like something on the sly. But I know it was originally supposed to come out last February. So okay. I think that it was. I don't think they finished it in time to do it for Valentine's Day 2020 anyway. Obviously, and then they were going to do it. I guess they did just sort of look at it and be like, well, if we wait till next February, vaccines and then theaters, probably smart.
I mean, that was my thinking at least, yeah, because it didn't feel like they were like in a rush to release it, but they were like, if they're going to release it in theaters, they want an audience to see it. They want couples to come together to see it.
Well, and also it's a J-Lo movie, right? I feel like they had a lot more faith in it for that. I mean, we kind of downplayed this, I guess, but this really is like an extended J-Lo like music video movie because there are so many song numbers in this. It's almost a musical, honestly. It is because they don't just do clips of songs. They do the entire song. They do some songs twice.
Right. Which pads out the film, I think, because there's really not that much plot otherwise. And I think that's what pushes it closer to 2 hours. But also, I feel like this is an ad, I guess, for her social media feed. I don't know how
it's an ad for her in general, for her career.
Yeah. But
which, fine. I mean, I don't need an ad. I already know J-Lo's got it.
Yeah. So are we supposed to believe that that's A-Rod then? Or no, Ben Affleck.
I was going to say Ben Affleck. No, I know there was some chatter of like how people kind of wish Ben Affleck had been the star of this.
I would actually,
instead of Owen Wilson.
You know what? I mean, I'd probably be more taken by it, but I do really enjoy Owen Wilson's screen presence. I kind of just like that he's a dude that stars in movies sometimes, even ones like Bliss that aren't very good.
Stars in movies sometimes. You never saw Loki, right?
No, he's in that, right?
Yeah, he's one of the main characters, and he's
like the lawyer for Loki or whatever.
Not a lawyer, no. He's like a time detective kind of bureaucrat guy. And I think
Loki, you gotta be careful with them. You've done some bad things. It's okay.
You should watch it. If you are willing to watch Marry Me starring Owen Wilson, you should watch Loki, only because I think that of the Marvel stuff, I do think
Marry Me.
He's a very interesting character in that. There's interesting stuff in
movie. It's 2 hours. Loki's a whole thing. You got to realize that's a whole afternoon.
You've watched so many things, Will, that have wasted your time. I feel like you could take a risk with a single Disney Plus Marvel show.
Marvel, they just too much baggage. I just like a nice, calm movie where people talk about
how are you going to prepare for? Okay, so how are you going to prepare for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness? Because you kind of have to have watched WandaVision, it appears. I didn't watch the trailer, but that's my understanding.
The answer is I just don't care. I'm just going to watch.
You're not even going to read
Strange
the Wikipedia.
2.
You're not going to read the synopsis or like what happened in WandaVision.
If that happens, it happens. It's okay. You don't have to worry too much.
All right. Well, people are going to be frustrated with you, but I'll have your back.
That wasn't me. That was Owen Wilson talking. He was explaining why he's not going to watch.
Sorry, Will. Normally I would lean into that, but the impression is not. Once you get the impression there, then I will fully.
I'm gonna commit to it whether you like it or not. It's okay. You don't have to be upset.
You just sound like a character in like a Steven Spielberg movie who like believes in conspiracy theories. That's what's hitting me right now.
That was not the vibe I was going for, but that's alarming to know.
You can imagine my me feeling so out of place. Okay, let's play the Rotten Tomatoes game for Marry Me.
Okay, so. This is a bad news. I got to do my own Wilson.
Peacock does this thing where they tell you the Rotten Tomatoes and the score for the audience and for the critics. I didn't mean to know it beforehand, but I got spoiled kind of.
So you know it? Do you know it exactly?
It's 59% for critics, and then it's 92% for audiences.
Both are wrong.
Oh, really? Did it go
Yeah,
up?
when did you see that? It's changed.
That was this morning. That's what they put it on the thing this morning.
It's literally, I'm looking at it right now, and it's not that anymore. It changed.
Oh, man. Okay, wait. So now I gotta go.
You spoke too soon.
Oh, boy.
Even when you accidentally cheated, you got it wrong.
I didn't.
See,
yeah, I
you
didn't
have
cheat.
better luck when you just guess. It's an accident.
Yeah. So, okay, if I had to guess, then is it 62% for critics?
No, it's not that far. You're not that far or anything. It's 57 now.
Oh, it's down. I thought it might have gone up.
It's down a little bit. And the audience score is 93% now instead of 92. So, yeah. And I don't know. I haven't really looked. Yeah, 98 fresh, rotten 73. So critics are split on Marry Me. I guess we were kind of split a little bit, but I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know. I'm looking up the cinema score. I don't know if there is a cinema score. Let's find out. There is. What do you think it is?
B plus.
B plus. There you go. Yeah. See, you don't need to watch the commercials that tell you. You just know.
That was a commercial. That was just when I hit pause on Marry Me. It said critics 59%, audience is 92%. Yeah,
it must be old.
Yeah,
they probably don't update it. False advertising. All right. What do you think the Letterboxd is? We have 17,000 watches.
31 or sorry, 3.1. I mean,
man, 31 out of 5.
Sorry, I meant 3.1 out of 5. Yeah,
3.1, 2.9. So you're starting to figure out the Letterboxd average, though. I think we're getting there. We're getting there with you. Okay, so that's Marry Me. It is now available to watch on Peacock. You can also check it out in theaters. It's 112 minutes long.
Wow.
Let's talk about.
Oh wow.
Okay, sorry. That was my last Owen Wilson for the day.
Your last gasp. I Want You Back. New film directed by Jason Orley. Jason Orley, we talked about his last film, Big Time Adolescence, back in 2020. That was one of the first like pandemic movies. Like I remember that was one of the first things we had to review during lockdown.
Yeah, because we were like, what can we talk about? No movies are coming out. I guess we'll talk about this Hulu original that just decided to be on Hulu.
It just hit Hulu, and it wasn't all that impressive, but it was kind of, I remember.
It was all right.
Sydney Sweeney was in that, right? And I don't know the kid's name, but Pete Davidson.
It was the King of Staten Island before the King of Staten Island came out.
It was like a prologue to King of Staten Island, essentially. But no, this is Jason Orley's next film. And I would say much better film, but this is also written by Isaac Apteker and Elizabeth Berger. They're the ones who do like This Is Us, and there's something else that they just there's a TV show or movie. I'm gonna look it up because I was just thinking about this too, and I do not want to lose it. Love, Simon. That's the other thing they did. Like the other movie that they did as screenwriters.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Kind of given the vibe of this film.
Yeah. It's a little bit like it's a comedy, but it's certainly got like emotional beats, and it's a rom-com. What are you gonna do? So I Want You Back stars Charlie Day and Jenny Slate, and when the movie opens, it kind of reminded me of like how Friends with Benefits opens, where they both are broken up with, right?
Yeah, I was actually thinking of Friends with Benefit exactly. So you are on the point there. Yeah.
Well, it's the same style of it. It's just like you're cutting back and forth between the breakups and all that. And they work in the same building, these two characters, and they like become friends because like both of them are having trouble getting over the breakup. So like they catch each other just like being super sad about it and crying. And it starts off where they're just sort of like trying to help each other, vent. It's like, wow, nobody else understands. Like other people are like, you need to move on, and like they're trying to don't check your phone or don't check their Instagram. But they sort of like enable each other, and that's where their friendship kind of starts. They watch old movies together. But then Jenny Slate's character, she hatches up a little bit of a plan. She's like, well, clearly we belong with our exes. We need to win them back. Hence the name of the movie. What if we helped each other sabotage the new relationships that our exes has started up? Make them realize that they shouldn't have broken up with us. So he becomes friends with her ex-boyfriend played by Scott Eastwood kind of like enters his life and tries to like steer him away from his new girlfriend. She's played by Clark Bacco, and Jenny Slate's character infiltrates his life and enters like a school play where Manny Jacinto from The Good Place is the new boyfriend of Charlie Day's ex-girlfriend, played by Gina Rodriguez. So they're just kind of like sticking their tendrils into each other's personal lives. Hijinks, all kinds of stuff like that ensue, situational comedic moments. And along the way, it's really these two characters just trying to like reckon with why their relationships failed, what their real dreams are, how they can try to like move on, everything like that. This is definitely another one of those movies where it's not super like, okay, there aren't a lot of surprises here. The surprises here tend to be like the humor and the jokes and things like that, but you kind of understand like what kind of movie this is. Like, let's be real. But what did you think? Do you think that there was enough here that like had you being like, I want this movie back for another round of watching it?
Yeah, I mean, talking about this film and Marry Me back to back is, no pun intended with the back thing, kind of fitting because they're both movies that are playing into the sort of like cliche structure of your typical rom-com, but at the same time, they're both trying to slightly subvert it. In this case, we have two characters who would, I guess, in a traditional rom-com be the sort of best friend characters, Charlie Day and Jenny Slate. And now they're two leads, but they're not romantically inclined, at least not initially. They're trying to use their best friendship to get back their own respective lovers and, kind of do a Parent Trap or a Cruel Intentions sort of mix up sort of thing. And I think neither of them are amazing, but if given the choice between one or the other, I think I found this film to be slightly more endearing than Marry Me, just because not only was there actual conflict and stakes in place, but I found this film to be ultimately funnier and more charming in the long run.
Yeah, that's really where this movie gets me. Is I felt something like I don't know. I had a little bit more of like a moment with this movie. And not just in terms of like the emotion and the sort of like, relationship conversation in this movie, but also, yeah, like you said, it's hilarious. It is very funny. Like it's not consistently funny. I think it has its moments where it whiffs a little bit, but right. there were certainly some like extended bits where I was like, you could have tightened this up a little bit. There's like something involving like a very awkward sexual proposition toward the end of the movie where I'm like, this should be funnier. It's only sort of like kind of humorous, and you really could have played this up.
But at the same time,
there's really good dialogue.
I was gonna say, even though this film is like I think 4 or 5 minutes longer than Marry Me, I felt the pacing of this one was a little bit stronger, even though it does have baggy segments, like you said.
It moves, yeah. It never feels like it's doing the same thing it did in the scene before. There's like an actual progression to like their plans and everything. It's just not, it's not repetitive.
And it also helps that we're kind of going back between two different characters who are connected, but they're sort of doing their own things at the same time. But also, I just feel like, and maybe, I don't know if I felt that Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson had bad chemistry, but I felt like the chemistry between Jenny Slate and Charlie Day felt a little bit more organic to what this film was going for.
And it's more interesting, I think, because like it is playing that balance between platonic and what if it could be more. And I think it kind of earns where it goes. Like it's not sort of, I don't know. Sometimes when you watch movies and like you have like friends to lovers kind of things, and I'm not trying to give anything away because I don't think that's necessarily how this movie turns out. But typically when you go from like platonic to, no, I actually like this person, it tends to be through very like cheap storytelling shortcuts, little things of like sharing an inside joke together or just sort of like looking at each other for a long time. Nothing like, I think in this movie, it's a little bit more like genuine, a little bit more like, yeah, that is actually how like people tend to like catch feelings. It's through something like, I'm getting something from this person that I've never gotten from somebody else, something that I don't want to lose. And that is more important to me than a simple by the numbers friendship. And there is like a sort of like, hey, like what they're doing right now could sort of like, even if they win, if they do what they need to do here, it could ruin the actual friendship. And like that realization is something that, I don't know, that actually landed with me. I thought that made sense. And like, it was a smart screenwriting move. So yeah. I don't want to undersell it. I think this is a sizable, quality jump from Marry Me in terms of like, I actually think this thing is like a little bit of a gem.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're a little bit stronger than I am on this movie altogether, but I think I agree with your sentiments in that this movie, I ultimately, even though it doesn't really seem like it with this episode, I do genuinely really enjoy rom-coms, and I kind of like that we have two movies like this that are kind of harkening back to those star-driven rom-com vehicles that we got more often in the 90s and 2000s, and obviously the 80s and stuff before that. But yeah, with this film, it does feel a little bit more, I don't know, I guess the charm of it felt less forced for me, where in Marry Me, it was just kind of like, and then we get to this beat, and then we get to this beat. And like you said, it's not really trying to be stakes driven or have a lot of conflict. So I guess for a lot of folks, that makes it more endearing, because it's just like, even though we know where the beats are going, I just enjoy spending time with these two leads. I guess I felt that more with this film because, like, it does play the beats I expected. Like, you can predict where it's going to go from a few miles ahead, but Jenny Slate and Charlie Day, they do have that sort of affable friendship / chemistry together, where it does, even if it's just them being friends, there's a charm there. And if they're getting a little bit more serious, there's some emotional stakes at play. And I think they kind of balance those out a little bit more accessibly than the previous film.
Yeah. And I think that, I'm a bit conflicted in terms of Charlie Day, because he's a very funny guy, obviously. And I think in this movie, he certainly, like, he executes his jokes pretty well. I think he portrays that sort of like kind of flustered guy. He's getting a little bit older. He's kind of settled in his ways, and he kind of needs other people to sort of push him to be more adventurous, and then that all pretty much works. But it is kind of interesting because, like, all of these actors are around the same age except for him. It is a little bit noticeable that he's in his mid 40s. Everybody else is in like their mid 30s. Yeah, because I think Jenny Slate, she's like she's like almost 40, so it's like not quite, but Scott Eastwood, Rodriguez, Manny Jacinto, like they're all like 35, 36, like they're in that zone. I think Clark Backo's the youngest; she's in her like late 20s, but it's not an issue. But yeah, not that any of the ages here are an issue. Not that Marry Me had an issue with age. All ages, fun for the whole family.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess they kind of owned up to a little bit more in Marry Me, whereas this film, like, I know they say that Jenny Slate's character is 32. I don't know if they actually ever said how old Charlie Day's character is supposed to be in this, but
I think they're kind of like removing years away, because I think they're trying to imply that he's around the same age as them, and I don't buy that. It's kind of weird seeing him hang out with Scott Eastwood because Scott Eastwood looks like he's 35 and Charlie Day doesn't. Yeah. But that's fine. I mean, you can be friends with people who are older and younger, whatever.
Sure, but I think that one, it didn't bother me as much because there is sort of an odd couple relationship to their thing in general. Like, obviously, like, Scott Eastwood is this muscular, traditionally handsome guy, and Charlie Day, it's not like schlubby, but he has more of like an everyman look to him that's, supposed to be a bit of a contrast. Also, he's like a shorter guy too and all that. But I don't know. I mean, I don't really know where I stand on Scott Eastwood at this point, because, like, if I hear the name Scott Eastwood, there's a part of me that just kind of groans, just like, oh, geez, the definition of nepotism this dude is, because he's a void of charisma generally. But it seems like he's sort of getting into this vibe with, with Wrath of Man and with this movie, where he's like, he's not great. Like, I don't think he does anything that other actors couldn't bring to those respective roles, but I'd be lying if I said that I don't think he's like completely a wet blanket in either role either, in a way that I felt
he's serviceable.
Like when I saw him in like something like whatever, like Furious 7 or whatever, I'm just like, this guy, he doesn't have it. He just doesn't got it. And, and it was just like, why does Hollywood keep pushing this dude? And I still feel it's mostly
because he's handsome, because he's Clint Eastwood's son. That's all it really is.
Yeah, but I know. I mean, but like, it seems like he's better at either playing a sort of standout villainous sort of character like he did in Wrath of Man, or playing a sort of affable guy like in this. Like, it seems like they're trying sometimes to make him like
in this,
a rugged romantic lead, like something like, I know like he had his own sort of like Bridges of Madison County film with whatever Longest Ride.
He's done a few with Britt Robertson. Like he's done the whole romantic steamy romance thing.
Well, I just mean that, like, there was a time where Hollywood was just like, surely he'll be the next Clint Eastwood, whatever, because he has the genes, and now they're like, I guess not. But like, he seems like he can hold his own in supporting roles, okay. So they're kind of pushing that side of film. And I don't think it's going to be a super successful transition, but it seems like this is more agreeable than what they were trying to do before. And it's not like he's
I bet it's frustrating being Scott Eastwood in a movie like this, because you have Mason Gooding in a very small part who just kind of like shows up and he's like, man, I'm like 10 years younger than you and I'm so much better at acting.
All right. Is that
but,
Cuba
that's my
Gooding
opinion.
Jr.'s son? Is that Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son?
Mason Gooding, yeah.
Okay,
and
I didn't know that.
we just saw him in Scream, and he was in an episode of How I Met Your Father. He's doing stuff. He's showing up.
I mean, I haven't watched How I Met Your Father, but I didn't realize that was who that was. So that's good to know.
Yeah. I think the first time I saw him was probably Booksmart. I think that was the first movie, but yeah, there might have been something before that. But anyway, yeah, I think he's great. But he's not like much of a presence here. Dylan Guerrero's in here too. I know you like Casual, but okay. I mean, I liked Casual. I do
like Casual. I didn't finish Casual.
I never finished it either. Are we going to do a group watch?
Maybe
along?
I don't know. There's too much TV, man. I just kind of make peace with like I heard that was it Marvelous Mrs. Maisel was coming back for a fifth and final season. I was like, season 5, I think they already had
whatever
4.
It is. I don't know. I lost track.
It's just like it was just like I remember really liking season 1, but I just fell behind. But it's like I'm sure I'd like the other 4 seasons if I watched them.
I think it peaked at season 2.
I didn't keep up, like I said. So anyway, this is not a Marvelous Mrs. Maisel podcast. This is about.
Hey, also we got to mention Pete Davidson does show up in this.
I didn't know
he does have a kind of funny role.
I didn't know if that was a spoiler or not. I was kind of full of my tongue. I don't know. I honestly didn't know. I didn't know he was going to be in. I didn't know he was going to be in this, so I didn't want to spoil that for anybody. But yeah, he does return to work with his big time adolescence director.
It doesn't affect the movie, so I like plot wise, but I see your point.
Sure.
But yeah, I think this is a perfectly good old movie. Very good rom-com, I think. One of the better ones. I think it's funny. I think it has a decent story. I do think there is something involving the ending and certain things regarding plane safety that I do not abide with, but that's fine. It's all in good fun. And I think that, I actually do think that this movie has a pretty like decent point of view on, compatibility and, what draws people together and, things related to like when you're with somebody a certain amount of time and like what's the difference between sort of believing in somebody and sort of just like telling them what they want to hear. And I don't, there was some good stuff in here, like a little bit like I know it's a Jolly Rancher and everything, but it's a Jolly Rancher with like cream filling. I don't know, that doesn't make any sense.
I guess I get what you mean there, but I mean as far as like 2 movies available on streaming right now, rom-coms that were made available for Valentine's Day. If I had the choice, if I had a significant other and they were like, we should watch a new movie for Valentine's Day, I would probably feel more comfortable watching this movie and I feel like I'd get more out of it. Now, I can't speak for this non-existent person that I'm referring to, but I don't know. I imagine they would like it as well, more than Marry Me, but who knows?
Yeah, you have options. That's all we're trying to say. And you know what, Will? I feel like this conversation we've had about these romantic comedies, I think I'm getting over my heartbreak, my heart sickness.
About what?
I think I just needed to appreciate these movies and what they gave me when I saw them and not just get so hung up on it. So thank you for the relationship advice, Will Ashton. I feel much better.
Yeah, you're welcome. But yeah, I mean, they're both like, like I said, streaming exclusive. So it's like they're fairly low risk as far as like, I mean,
they're not streaming. Well, Marry Me is not streaming exclusive.
Marry Me, but I know, but I mean, like you could watch both these at low risk on streaming. You could, I was going to say, you can watch Marry Me in theaters if you so wish. And
but these are couch movies. Let's just say it.
Yeah,
and
they're movies that
all the better for it.
I mean, there is something to admire about a mid-budget movie like Marry Me still existing, and that's why I feel like I'm not too harsh on it, even though I don't love the film at all. But I feel like if you want to support movies like that, see Marry Me in theaters. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it seems like you said, like the type of movie that's designed to be watched on streaming or in a former time on DVD. It's just the type of thing. It's like
incidentally though, because I don't think they wanted this to be a theatrical. Right. But yeah, I mean, it worked out that it kind of does feel designed out to be sort of at home. But okay, that is I Want You Back. Let's play the Rotten Tomatoes game.
The one last thing I wanted to say, about I Want You Back is that it makes a very good case for why Jenny Slate was born to play Audrey in Little Shop of Horrors. And it's, if anything comes to this movie, I hope it's that she gets cast in that movie that was supposed to be. Were they trying to make Little Shop of Horrors again with Scarlett Johansson and Taron Egerton? Was that happening at one point? Is that still happening?
At some point. I don't know. Yeah, I haven't looked into it in a while.
Well, if Scarlett Johansson, if she jumps out of the project to do something else because they keep delaying it, this is a great audition tape for Jenny Slate. That's probably the highlight of the movie for me, was that scene. I don't know about you.
I don't know. I mean, I like Jenny Slate quite a bit. I just don't think I haven't liked a lot of the movies she's been in, honestly. Like, barely. Like, I don't think there's any movie I've seen her in besides her voice roles where I've loved the whole movie, but I've had an issue with her, or like a movie I disliked her, if that makes sense. But I don't know. There's Landline, I guess, which was she had a starring role in, and
yeah. Obvious Child was pretty good.
I barely remember it. I didn't see Obvious Child. She has like little roles in some movies that are good, like On the Rocks. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah. This is one of the first times I've seen her in a leading performance where I'm just like, yeah, I like Jenny Slate. Let's go.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, she hasn't really gotten a lot of lead roles, which I guess is kind of the point here, And she has Marcel, the show with the shoes on, which is apparently really good.
A24 movie.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I mean, that's like, isn't that kind of the point of this film, though? Like, Charlie Day isn't traditionally playing a lead role. Jenny Slate isn't usually playing a lead role. They put them together. Sparks come out, and you get a fine Amazon Prime exclusive. There you go.
All right, let's play the Rotten Tomatoes game. Will Ashton, 100 reviews have been counted. I don't think you saw this one ahead of time because Amazon, I don't think, showed you. But yeah, what do you think? 100 reviews. I'm one of them. I liked the movie, so I give you a little bit of a hint. What do you think the Rotten Tomatoes score is for I Want You Back?
Yeah, I got a screener for this actually, but yeah, I would say it seems like type of film where a bunch of people don't love it, but a lot of people give it like a 3 out of 5, which puts it more favorable than not. So I'm gonna say 82%,
87%.
Okay.
So a little bit stronger than you thought. I mean, I'm kind of looking at it since you said that. I'm seeing, 3 out of 4, 3 out of 5, lots of 3 out of 5. So you're onto something there. 8 out of 10s, 4.75 out of 5. There we go. But okay, what about audience score? We have 100 plus ratings so far, nothing verified. But yeah, what do you think the audience score is?
74%.
Close, 76%.
Okay.
You were in the ballpark for both. But how about that? How about that Letterboxd rating?
I was gonna say there's no
score.
Yeah, I was gonna say no cinema score because it's only on Amazon.
Yeah.
Was this like sold to Amazon, or was this an Amazon exclusive from the get-go?
I think this was. Let me double check, but I think this was Amazon from the start. Okay. Yeah. Amazon Studios. Jenny Slate and Charlie Day were brought in last February, and yeah, always was meant to be that. Oh, and they was shot in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I think it takes place in Atlanta too.
Yes, I believe so.
I like that.
I'm going to say 3.0.
Your guess is 3.0. It's 3.3. Okay. So I think, I think it's because you're this movie's a little hotter than I think you had an experience with it. I think you're just kind of like, yeah, it's okay. But other people are like, a little bit more than okay. I mean, not amazing, but it's a little bit more than okay.
I was more favorable than not on this movie, but I just didn't know if audiences would agree. It seems like in my feed that more people are responding to Marry Me than I Want You Back. But
I think Marry Me is having more of a cultural impact. I think because of J-Lo. I think that's what it comes down to. But this is just like a little indie movie gem, like it has indie movie trappings, at least not indie, but I feel like people are watching it and having very low expectations, or not even low expectations, so like middling, right? And they're just like, oh yeah, I'll watch this. I like these actors, and they're like, you know what? That actually came together a lot better than I thought it would. So
that was my experience with this, and I think I came in with more expectations for Marry Me because people were responding more favorably to it. And I was just like, oh, okay,
I think a lot of that is just people kind of like being like, it's charming, it's fun, and it's like it did my taxes, and it's like, okay, it's all right. Have fun.
If you gotta do some taxes, I'm here for you. I'm just going to talk to J-Lo about how we're married or something. It's okay.
I think that's our cue to leave. Thank you for listening to the show.
Hey, you know
We'll
what?
be back.
I don't take offense to you doing text during the movie. That's okay.
Please
That's okay.
actually don't watch Loki because I don't want you to do this Owen Wilson impression ever
boy.
again.
Hey, you know, if this is what's gonna take, if it's what's gonna take you not. If I can avoid watching Marvel shows because if I do this Owen Wilson impression, then that just means I'm just going to keep doing it. Next week on Uncharted, I'm just going to be doing this voice the whole time.